Okay, good day. Today we will take a look at your protozoa. Okay, accordingly, your protozoa, these are unicellular organisms and they are the lowest form of animal life. Again, your protozoa, they are unicellular organisms and they are the lowest form of animal life accordingly. And yes, in this portion, we will take a look at your amoeba. Please note that a few amoebas are parasites of other organisms. Okay, and yes, however, one or two are responsible for much death of humans. Okay, one or two are responsible for much death or death of humans. And yes, other amoebas are commensals, and this characteristic must be recognized to differentiate them from the pathogenic species. Okay, for your protozoans. One, let's take a look at your definition of terms here. Okay, and so yes, first on the list is your axostyle. Your axostyle here is a rod-like supporting structure in some flagellates that provides rigidity. Okay, again, your axostyle. This one is a rod-like supporting structure that provides support, of course, and rigidity to some flagellates. Okay, and so your axostyle, this one is seen in again, they are seen in some flagellates like your Trichomonas vaginalis. Axostyle can be seen in Trichomonas vaginalis. Okay, and then you have here your cilia. Your cilia, accordingly, these are small hair-like cytoplasmic projections from a cell. Okay, your cilia, these are small hair-like cytoplasmic projections from a cell or organism. Okay, and so yes, since you are done with your uh, basic biology, of course, it is just the same. The cilia that you learned in your basic biology is the same. Cilia here in protozoology or in your when we'll study your protozoans. Okay, and then you have your cyst. Okay, your cyst here is the immotile stage of your protozoa. Your cyst is the immotile stage of your protozoa, and this one is protected by a resistant cyst wall. Okay, resistant cyst wall. The cyst wall here will serve to protect, okay, your cyst. Okay, again, your cyst is an immotile, the immotile stage that is protected by a resistant cyst wall formed by the parasite accordingly. And yes, in in protozoology, or yes, in the study of your protozoans, please note that your cyst here, this is the infective stage of the parasite or of the protozoa to humans. Okay, the cyst is the infective stage of the protozoa to humans. Okay, and yes, you have here your blepharoplast. Your blepharoplast is a basal body origin of the flagella that supports the undulating membrane in blood flagellates. Okay, and so again, this one is your basal body origin of the flagella that supports the undulating membrane in hemo or in your blood, like your Leishmania species. Okay, and so for your blepharoplast. Okay, moving on, you have your chromatin. Your chromatin is a deep staining DNA containing portions of your protozoa nuclei. Okay, and so that is for your chromatin. And then you have your chromatoidal bar. This one is a rod-shaped structure of condensed ribonucleic acid within the cytoplasm of amoeba. Again, so your chromatoid bar or your chromatoidal body, this one is a rod-shaped structure of condensed ribonucleic acid material within the cytoplasm of your certain amoeba cyst. And then you have your costa. This one is a thin, firm, rod-like structure running along the base of the undulating membrane of some flagellates. Again, your costa, this one is seen in hemoflagellates again. I mean, in some flagellates, sorry, like your Trichomonas vaginalis. And then you have your cytostome. Your cytostome here is the cell mouth, or yes, the cell mouth that is present in some flagellates. Okay, and so for your cytostome. Moving on, you have your ectoplasm. Your ectoplasm, this one is a gelatinous cytoplasmic material beneath the cell membrane. Your ectoplasm is a gelatinous cytoplasmic material beneath the cell membrane. Your ectoplasm here is located outside, accordingly, of the cell membrane. And then you have your endosome. Your endosome here, these are small mass of chromatin within the nuclei. Your endosome, these are your endosomes, this is otherwise known as your karyosome. Okay, again, your endosome, these are small mass of chromatin within the nuclei of your protozoa. And then you have your flagella. Your flagella, this one is a tail-like extension of the ectoplasm. Okay, your flagella is a tail-like extension of the ectoplasm. What will this provide? It will provide locomotion, moving in a whip-like manner. Okay, that is for your flagella. Okay, and then you have your pseudopod. You have your pseudopod. Please note that your pseudopod, these are protoplasmic extension of the trophocyte. Okay, and so protoplasmic extension of the trophocytes of your amoeba that will allow movement and food engulfment. Okay, and so for your pseudopod, please note that this pseudopod, this feature, or please note that the movement, uh, this one actually is the most important feature that will separate your amoeba from the other groups of unicellular protozoa. Okay, and so the pseudopod that will determine how your amoeba will move is the most important feature that will separate your amoeba from other groups of unicellular protozoa. And yes, please note that this pseudopod, okay, and so these pseudopods are often referred to as the false feet. Okay, they are of this, so your pseudopod is often referred to as a false feet, which will allow movement within the environment. And aside from movement, it will allow food engulfment accordingly. And then you have your kinetoplast. This one is an intensely staining rod or disc shape or spherical extranuclear DNA structure that is found in parasitic flagellates near the base of the flagella. Okay, and then you have your undulating membrane. Your undulating membrane, this one is a protoplasmic membrane within a flagellar rim extending out like a fin along the outer edge of the body of a certain protozoa. And then you have your excistation here. Your excistation, this one is the transformation from a cyst to a trophocyte. Excistation, this one is transformation from a cyst to a trophozoite after the cystic form has been ingested or swallowed by a host. Okay, and so the end product of your excistation is a trophozoite. Okay, and so because yes, the life cycle of your Yes, in the life cycle of your protozoa or in your amoeba, okay, and so you ingest, as what we said earlier, your amoeba, your cyst, that is the infective stage. And yes, once it is ingested, okay, and so your uh the parasite is liberated, forming of course your trophozoite. Okay, and so for your excistation. Now, moving on. Okay, and so this one is an illustration of your trophozoite. Okay, and so please note you have here a pseudopod, you have a false fit. Okay, and so for your trophozoite. And another one, comparing your trophozoite and your cyst. Okay, you have this one as a trophozoite and the other one is your cyst here. Okay, and so please note that in a cyst, okay, and so your cyst, sorry, this is immotile. Okay, your cyst is immotile, while your trophozoite is the motile one. Okay, moving on, this one is an illustration, I mean a microscopic illustration of a cyst. Okay, and so this one is a cyst of your Entamoeba coli cyst. Okay, yes, please notice, okay, and so there are no extensions or there are no pseudopods here. Okay, and so making it immotile. Okay, and then you have your excision. Yes, your encystation. This one occurs, or this one is the process of cyst formation. Okay, and so this is the process of cyst formation accordingly. And yes, your encystation. Please note that it occurs in the intestine when the environment is not suitable for the survival of your trophozoite. Okay, and so please note that existation will take place first before encystation. Okay, and so once the cyst is ingested, excistation will take place, and then after that, okay, and so encystation will occur. Okay, and yes, encystation occurs in the intestines when the environment is not suitable for survival of the trophocyte. This one is somewhat a defense mechanism, okay, and so for the protozoa. Okay, because please note earlier we said that your cyst, okay, and so there is a cyst wall that protects the protozoa, in contrast to your trophozoites. Okay, and so they do not have a protective wall. Okay, and so thereby, with that being said, your trophozoite, they are what we call they are susceptible to acid digestion. They are susceptible to the environment accordingly. Okay, and so yes, let's take a look at the factors that affect your NC state. Okay, you have here your lack or abundance of food. Okay, and so your lack of or abundance of food. Please note that your trophozoite, this is the feeding stage also of the protozoa. Okay, marked change in pH. Please note that these are adverse. Okay, and so adverse circumstances for your protozoa. Okay, and so they need to develop or they need uh to survive or they need to produce something that will make them survive in the harsh environment. Okay, and so another is excess of catabolic products of the organism, and then depletion or excess oxygen supply, or there is an increase in the oxygen tension or so what, and then overpopulation accordingly. All of these are factors that will affect the encystation of the parasite of the protozoa. Okay, and so please note again here that the cyst wall will allow the cyst to enter the outside environment. Okay, and so the cyst wall will allow the cyst to enter the outside environment with the passage of feces. And yes, since there is the presence of cyst, the size of the cyst wall, the cyst will remain viable for long periods of time. Unlike for your trophozoites, that they usually die out in the outside environment. Okay, and so yes, ingestion accordingly of your infective cyst will complete the amoebic life cycle of the protozoa. Okay, and so for your encystate. Your existation. Your existation, this one is the transformation from a cyst to a trophozoite after the cyst has been swallowed by the host. And yes, this one occurs in the ileocecal area. Okay, and so yes, please note that your trophozoites, they are characteristically delicate and fragile. And yes, please note that your trophozoites, they possess pseudopods. Okay, and so making them motile. Okay, and so please note here also that in most cases, trophozoites are easily destroyed by the gastric juices of the stomach. Okay, and so trophozoites are easily destroyed by the gastric juices of the stomach. Okay, and yes, trophozoites are also susceptible to the environment outside the host. That is why the most common means whereby amoebas are transferred to humans is through ingestion of the infective cyst that is found in contaminated food or water. Seldom accordingly, or yes, your trophozoites, this is not the infective stage of your protozoa. Okay, and so because again, they are easily digested in the stomach, we have the presence of your high acidity in the stomach, it will easily digest your trophocyte. Okay, and so for your existation. Let's take a look at the general life cycle of your protozoa. Okay, and so yes, as what we said earlier, your trophozoite will go encystation, and then the cyst will be passed into the feces. Okay, and so yes, in case of your enteric amoeba or your enteric amoeba, all have a similar life cycle. Okay, and so all have similar life cycle, but then there is an invasive stage that will involve organs outside the intestines. Okay, and yes, this one is seen in case of Intamiba histolytica, but not with others. Okay, and so yes. Okay, and so the mature cyst, okay, the mature cyst or the cyst, okay, and so which is the infective stage is ingested, and then it is passed into the small intestine where existation or hatching occurs. Okay, and so existation takes place in the small intestines. Okay, and so as what we said earlier, it is in the ileocecal region. Okay, and so hatching or existation takes place in the small intestines. Then, of course, the freed cyst then develops into a trophozoite. It will develop into a trophozoite and then proceed to multiply through binary fission in the lumen. Again, so yes, again, so the Fried cyst will develop, or the Fried cyst will develop into a trophozoite, and then will proceed to multiply through binary fission in the lumen. Okay, and so of course of the small intestines, and then trophozoites may initiate a process called encystation. Trophozoites may initiate the proper process called encystation, as what you already know, and then immature cysts are excreted where fecal contamination begins. Okay, and yes, okay, and so where fecal contamination begins the infective cycle, that would of course impact other animals when they ingest the cyst. Okay, and so please note that both immature and mature cysts are found in the feces along with trophocytes. Okay, and so for this one. And yes, as what we learned earlier, your trophocyte is usually seen, or this one trophocyte is prevalent in watery stools. But then please note that some trophocytes may invade the colon's wall. Okay, and so for this one, again, mature cyst is ingested by the human, and then the cyst will undergo excistation in the small intestine, and then a trophocyte will develop. Trophocyte will multiply through binary fission, and then some of the trophocytes produced will undergo excistation, some will remain as a trophocyte. Sorry, some will remain trophocyte and some will remain some will undergo encystation, wherein immature cyst is developed, and then the cyst is passed in the feces, and then it will contaminate the environment, and then of course the cyst is then ingested again, and then the cycle continues. Okay, this one is an illustration of your what you call this life cycle of your Entamoeba histolytica accordingly. Again, so yes, we will take a look at this one at your Entamoeba histolytica soon as we go. Okay, yes, your protozoans. Again, your protozoans, these are unicellular organism. Okay, or when you say unicellular, so they are single-celled organisms. And yes, please note that they are eukaryotes, or they are eukaryotic cell. And yes, they contain a nuclei and other organelles. Okay, and so for this one, of course, they are animal-like protists. They don't have a cell wall, but they have a cyst wall. Okay, and so you have two regions of cytoplasm present in your protozoa. You have your ectoplasm and endoplasm. And yes, they contain at least one and some several nuclei. Some of your protozoa contain vacuoles, and they have special organs for locomotion. Like you have your pseudopod, you have your cilia, you have your what they call this flagella. And yes, please note that many of your protozoans again require a wet environment needed for feeding, for osmoregulation and reproduction, as well as for movement also. Okay, and yes, please note earlier we said that the infective stage is known as your cyst. Okay, and so which is what you call this resistant to the environment. Okay, and so to the adverse environment. And then your trovocyte, this one is your motile. This one is also the vegetative stage of your protozoa. Okay, still for your protozoa, they absorb liquid or ingest particles, and what they call this, the cytoplasm has contractile vacuoles to maintain osmotic pressure and excretion of wastes, and they reproduce by asexual and sexual. Okay, and so for your asexual, that can either be amitotic, and yes, you have a single division, and mitotic, this one is repeated by binary fission of nucleus producing two daughter cells. And then of course you have sexual, that is sexual, of course. Okay, so this one actually is an illustration of your binary fission. Okay, and so you have here a fully blown, sorry, amoeba. Okay, and so accordingly, the nuclei will, what they call this, will divide first, and then of course the end product will be two daughter cells accordingly. That is for your binary fission of your amoeba. Okay, and yes, for your basic structure of your protozoa, you have a nuclei, a cytoplasm, and an ectoplasm. Okay, and so for that one, go on to your what you call this classification of your protozoa based on taxonomy. Let's take a look first at your trovocyte and your cyst. Okay, and so your trovocyte, this is the motile, and the reproducing and the feeding stage. And yes, okay, and so this is also the pathogenic stage of the protozoa. And as for the shape, it is irregular in shape, and this one is recovered in watery stool or in diarrheic stool. And yes, with that, again, so it must be processed immediately and examined unstained, because of course your trophozoite is easily killed. Okay, as for your cyst, this is non-motile, and this is the non-reproducing and the non-feeding stage. This is also the infective stage. As for the shape, it is round or oval in shape, and this is frequently found in formed stools, frequently found in formed stool samples. And yes, again, so it can be stained by iodine, but the more satisfactory method is to stain it using permanent stains like iron and hematoxylin stains. Okay, and so for your trophozoite and your cyst, your classification of your protozoan based on taxonomy. Please note that they are again single-celled organisms. They are eukaryotes. And yes, please note that all protozoa fall under the kingdom Protista. Okay, so all protozoa fall under the kingdom Protista. And so I suppose at this time you already know your what you call this, your kingdoms, your domains of your taxonomy. Again, so that is in biology. Anyway, again, so yes, your protozoans are classified into seven phyla or phylum, and three of these phyla are medically important. Okay, and so they have a clinical significance, and they are also human parasites. Okay, and so three of the seven phylum of protozoan are medically important, and they are human parasites. Okay, and yes, what are those? You have your phylum Sarcomastigophora, you have your phylum Ciliophora, and then your phylum Acomplexa. Okay, and so these three phyla accordingly. For your Sarcomastigophora, they possess pseudopods. Okay, and so they possess pseudopods and or flagella. Okay, and so under this you have your subphylum Sarcodina, which has the pseudopod, and then your Mastigophora, subphylum Mastigophora, which has the flagella. And then you have, sorry, the following, of course, you have here your species that inhabit the large intestine. Okay, you have your Histo, E. coli, Indolimax neina. Please note that it is Entamoeba. It is Entamoeba, not Escherichia. Okay, and so it is Entamoeba, not Escherichia. And I suppose by this time you already know, you already can do how to you can already do the proper way of writing your scientific names. Okay, you have your Eudamiba and the rest accordingly for your uh, subphylum Sarcodina. You have here the species that inhabit the large intestines. And then still under your subphylum Sarcodina, you have here those that inhabit the oral cavity. Those that inhabit the oral cavity, you have your Entamoeba gingivalis. And then those that inhabit the brain, you have your Naegleria and Acanthamoeba species. Naegleria fowleri and then Acanthamoeba castellani accordingly. Okay, and so again for your Sarcodina, they are under phylum Sarcomastigophora. This Sarcodina possess pseudopods. And then your Mastigophora, your subphylum Mastigophora, they possess flagella. Okay, and yes, you have here your species that inhabit the digestive tract. You have your Jargelambia, Trichomonas hominis, and then the rest. Okay, under subphylum Mastigophora still, species that inhabit the oral cavity of your Trichomonas tenax, those that inhabit the genitalia, you have your Trichomonas vaginalis, and those that inhabit the circulatory system, you have your Trypanosoma species, and then you have your Leishmania. Okay, and so yes, you have your Leishmania brasiliensis, Leishmania donovani, Leishmania tropica, and then you have your Trypanosoma cruzi, and then Trypanosoma brucei complex for this. Okay, and then you have your phylum, sorry, your phylum Acomplexia. Okay, and so your phylum Acomplexia, they do not have pseudopods, flagella or cilia, but most are motile via gliding mechanism. Again, in your phylum Apicomplexia, they do not have pseudopods, no flagella, and no cilia. But then they are motile via gliding mechanism. And yes, they have an apical complex at the anterior end, which is involved in the penetration and invasion of target cells. Okay, and so for this one, under your apicomplexia, you have your plasmodium. Okay, you have your babesia. Again, so yes, you have your suborder. Okay, and so in this case of your phylum Apicomplexia, you have here, they are subdivided. You have your class Sporozoa, and then you have subclass Coccidia, and then under your Coccidia, you have suborder Hemospororina. Okay, and so you have here your Plasmodium vivax, your Plasmodium species. And then under your subclass Coccidia, you have suborder Amariorina. Okay, and so which which houses your Cryptosporidium, your Isospora, and then your Sarcocystis, and then your Toxoplasma gondii. Okay, and so for your phylum Apicomplexia. Okay, and then you have your subclass Pyroplasmacina. You have here your Babesia species. You have your Babesia species here. And then you have your phylum Ciliophora. Your phylum Ciliophora, they use cilia. They possess or they use or they possess cilia. Okay, and so you have here your Balantidium coli under your Ciliophora. That ends your introduction to protozoa. Okay, and so yes, this has been Gael saying that, pakit tayo.